guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
11 American English words that baffle British people.
This channel for 10 years, and because of that I thought now would be a great time to celebrate by looking back at some of those early videos. I apparently made a video looking at British words that baffle Americans. If I were to make that video today, how different would it be from those days when I was young and naive? Today we're going to do a little bit of a twist and bring to you a sequel that is 10 years in the making. What is the sequel called? 11 American words that baffle British people. So 10 years in, if you've not yet subscribed to this channel, do that now. In the meantime, let me throw some words at you. We're going to start this list with what to me is a very special word. It is aluminum. This is a word I've talked about way too much on this channel, but it has its pride and place in lists like this because it's kind of the royalty of British versus American word differences. Why is that, Lawrence? Because it's a rare example of a word that's both spelled differently and pronounced differently.
Aluminum. Aluminium.
Yeah, it's all fun and parties in my...
Oh, I thought the problem would be like people never say, "Oh, where's the aluminum?" People ask for the foil.
Oh, aluminum foil. You know, in Lithuanian, it's the British.
How you say it? Aluminium.
Aluminus. Aluminimus. I don't know, but it's the...
You had an us. I know you did.
My house,
Of
and
course
the 10%
there's
of
us.
subscribers who watch my long forms as well as my YouTube shorts will know that the supposedly American English word aluminum originated in Britain. And the reason that I just mentioned this again is that I used to be one of those British people who just thought that Americans have to be different, even with elements of the periodic table. I'm not just talking about aluminum, consider the spelling of sulfur. And so I looked up some other words, one of which was gotten, the past participle of get. At least that's what it is here. Where I come from, the past participle of get is got. For example, I've got older as I've got older. Americans are more likely to say, I've gotten older, and that's where the knee-jerk reaction comes in. Why are you making a word longer than it needs to be? Well, then I...
What do you think?
I never thought about that. I've gotten older. I've got older. No, I have gotten. No, yeah, you say gotten. I've gotten older.
I've learned I've got older. But at some point, somewhere, I started saying I've gotten older. Because obviously I learned British English. But yes, I have learned I've got older. But naturally, I think I've gotten older is what you would say, yeah. Very interesting. I never thought about that. Wow.
started to think about it a bit. Unsurprisingly, it turns out that gotten, in this sense, originated in the very country that brought English to North America in the first place. In other words, in England, we also used to widespreadly, that is an adverb that I may have just made up, use the word gotten. Americans continue to do it, we stopped doing it, and over time, forgot that we ever did it. Or should I say, we have forgotten that we ever did it. Now, admittedly, there are some American English words that baffled me at first that don't have a British origin. Take, for example, all-purpose flour. What's all-purpose flour, Lawrence? Well, the quick answer is it is what the British call
plain flour.
But all-purpose flour is also a reminder that American English loves the word all. It shows up in all-timer, all-access backstage pass, all-wheel drive, all-in, all-pro, all-star, all-purpose cleaner. Not my fault, it's a bloody cardinal. All-American, and of course, all-purpose flour. And I think that specifically when it comes to words that we use to describe food products, that can be genuinely baffling. In my kitchen at first was an overwhelming experience, partly because I can't cook. Secondly, because you have to translate a lot of things. And I've included all-purpose flour on this list as opposed to many of the other food names because I'm currently out of it, and this will serve as a reminder to go to Aldi. Of course, while I'm busy navigating the demands of YouTube superstardom, I don't have a lot of time to put my cooking skills to the test, unless it's for a video and I'm getting paid. But on the whole, between the editing and trying not to melt in the Midwest, my life's sake. When I say a, ved or black, guilty to 75 low. Sun is up there and I'm sweating my arse off. And that's because I have never fully become acclimatized to the humidity of the Midwest. Or to the fact that Americans say acclimated. Like, I thought America loved taking British words that have an ISE suffix and switching out for a Z. I thought that was your thing. Then I got here and realised it's more complex than that. Sometimes you'll just change the entire suffix. Except, again, the word acclimate is older than the word acclimatise.
Acclimate to me is more normal than acclimatize.
Yeah.
Thinking Lithuanian is also British. Of course, you added us at the end, but I think we would say it because it's an international word, but I think we would say the British way.
And the word acclimatise is used here, but in a different sense to do with the actual climate, though that one's baffling no more.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's
let's
the
just
British
rewind
way
the tape to a few seconds ago when I said this. and switching out for a Z. I thought that was your thing. Now, I can get away with saying Z because I've lived here for 17 years and I'm a citizen now, but in my former life, the last letter of the alphabet would have been Z. And I wanted to point this difference out in this video because while it might be baffling to British people, I've noticed certain contexts in which British people do say Z. There aren't many people out there calling Beyonce's husband JZ, although Beyonce mine could be their thing. I don't know. And because American discourse seems to dominate the conversation around generations, as in the boomers, Generation X, millennials, and Gen Z, some British people are instinctively pronouncing it the American way.
Our Gen Z, that's people under 27, kind of a bit workshop.
So, are we baffled by it? Or just like pointing out differences for clicks? I've just realised that's what I'm doing.
That's
anyway,
interesting.
Wow.
So
Everyone's becoming Americanized.
that's
That's crazy.
They did say that in UK, like a lot of like they are starting to use a lot of like American slang because of TikTok, like the kids, and it's becoming sometimes a little conflicting because the same words mean different things. So yeah, they did say that.
In that area of the alphabet, it got me thinking about words that begin with the letter Z, Z. Suddenly, zipper entered my brain, and to my British viewers who are currently baffled by this word, a zipper is one of these things that helps to keep your clothes closed. By saying that after 4 whiskers. To my American viewers wondering, what on earth do you call this in Britain? It's just a zip. And the reason that I bring this up is that I think the word zipper, it sounds like something a child would say. As kids, you go on a roller coaster called a Big Dipper. You go swimming in flippers. And this all happens while you're a little nipper. So those are my 2 cents on that word. Now, there's one word in American English that I'm baffled by every single time I see it, and that word is realty. You can be driving along these streets here, or any street in America, and you see this word on yard signs everywhere, and it basically just means real estate. That's fine, except the thing that happens to me every time I see it, without fail, is I read it as the word reality. And in American English, that word comes with many footnotes. I think that real estate signs do this on purpose, because a lot of Americans tell me that when they visit Britain, they see similar signs that say to let, as in to rent or lease out a property. They see it, as do British people,
toilet.
as toilet. And that should remind everybody of the power of I. Well, let's go back to what I was talking about earlier when I said that Americans like to make some words longer than they need to be. Oftentimes, this will present in words that could just be often. And I used to think that, Americans that use oftentimes are just trying to sound important, clever, different to the rest of us. But if we look at history, and I think you know where I'm going with this, oftentimes was around in English before Europeans were around in America. In other words, oftentimes, much like gotten, was part of the English language and what is today.
Not, I don't think so. I think I say often. Not a word I use a lot.
I feel like I heard you use it.
Often?
Oftentimes.
Damn.
Yeah. You're trying to tell me something, and you're like, but oftentimes you be.
Oh, okay. So how can you remember if you block
I
it out?
remember that part because that's when you're trying to tell me something.
Britain.
Oftentimes.
Except at some point in history, we caught up with the times
Triggering.
and removed the suffix.
Hard to
times
say. I'm
from
not
its
sure.
place. In America, it has stuck around, but I will acknowledge that there's a debate even here whether you should say the shortened version or the unnecessary word. Jaywalking is an interesting word because it's not a respelling of a British word. It's not an alternate to a British word. It's a word for which there is no equivalent in British English. And that's because the UK doesn't have laws prohibiting road crossing at non-designated spots, except on motorways unless you're an idiot. America was at the forefront of the automobile industry, lobbied hard to have legislation passed against people that would jaywalk, in other words, that would cross the road at parts that aren't designated for crossing. And it just became a part of the legal language of the United States in a way that British people don't have to worry about. But speaking of getting in trouble, America has a word for con artist or swindler that I'd never heard before, and that word is grifter. This word has been used about all sorts of Americans, from business moguls to former reality TV hosts to presidents. And when I first said it, I got the complete wrong end of the stick.
In the political context, I never hear it like.
Yeah, usually
conversation.
if you say like somebody's con person, you con man. You are a grifter. I know what it means, but I would say con man. I would not use this word.
Because it sounds like the word grafter. So when I hear sentences like he or she is a grifter, at first I thought, oh, so they work extra hard. And language gets you like that, whether it's a word on a sign that's subtly missing the letter I, or an established word that suddenly has an I. And finally, sherbet. As somebody who was born and raised in Britain, I always knew sherbet to be a powder and not the kind that Uncle Toby used to push on me at New Year's Eve. Instead, it's a fizzy powder that's primarily used for dipping licorice and lollipops. When I described this to my American wife, she said it sounded like the American brand Fun Dip. And after moving to the United States, I found out that sherbet here is a completely different thing. How best to describe it? It's basically sorbet, but with dairy. So what's going on?
It
turns out that both sherbet and sorbet have their origins in the Arabic word sariba, meaning to drink. And Americans have oftentimes got gotten into the habit of sounding out an extra R in the final syllable. In fact, I recently found out that an alternative spelling exists in American English to reflect this. The word carries a pretty rare distinction. It is one of the few in the English language whose spelling, meaning, and pronunciation differ on either side of the pond. And since that piece of trivia is what I always finish with at my...
Interesting. So, in Lithuania is also Šerbetas. It's American. It's not, I don't... It's, well, but it's the same thing as like, Šerbetas is basically like a fruity ice cream, kind of. Yeah.
Ice cream. Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And Zoe's, share as much kindness as possible. Bye, guys.